My colleague Amy, she has been on the ground covering this with me, possibly even more, has not missed much of court. So we've been talking about this day for weeks now. What do you think, now that we're here, has stood out the most for you in this case?
Yeah, we had so many big moments in this trial. I just think back to October when we had opening statements. The prosecutors started out this trial with Bob Lee's 911 call, where we can hear him begging for help. He tells the dispatcher, "I've been stabbed," but he never names his killer. So we had the 911 call. We had all that surveillance video showing Bob Lee and Nima Momeni leaving Kazar's apartment and driving towards the Bay Bridge. The video of the actual stabbing was very, very grainy. You couldn't tell what was happening. We also had the murder weapon. Cops found the knife near the crime scene. We had Momeni's DNA on the handle, Bob Lee's DNA on the blade. So prosecutors had a lot of really good evidence to put before this jury, and that's why we now have a guilty verdict today for second-degree murder.
And do you remember we were right here interviewing the defense team, and they said at closing arguments was going to pull everything together. It was going to be this big aha moment. I wasn't in court for that, but do you think that was a big deal?
Yes, so for closing arguments, the defense really threw a Hail Mary. They stood up and they proclaimed in front of the jury, "Look, Bob Lee is holding the knife, and you can see it right here in this surveillance video shot the night before the homicide." So I don't think the reporters in the courtroom really bought it. I don't think the jury bought it either. That object that we saw in Bob Lee's hand really could have been anything. You couldn't tell from the video. So I think the defense came up short in their closing argument.
And I think another big moment for me was when Momeni was on the stand, and they did a reenactment with one of his defense attorneys, I think it was Sam, and they did an actual, again, because cameras aren't allowed in the courtroom, so we couldn't show you all, but they did a full reenactment of what the fight or confrontation looked like. And I feel like that was a big moment in the courtroom where I think it was, I don't have the words for that. What do you think about that?
It was a bit bizarre. Yeah, they actually had Momeni stand up and do this reenactment with his defense attorneys. They used even a fake knife for this reenactment, trying to show how Nima claimed he acted in self-defense, grabbed the knife and redirected it back towards Bob Lee. The prosecution throughout this trial said Bob Lee was unarmed when he was attacked and stabbed 3 times, including once through the heart.
Right, and I think the big takeaway for me during that whole reenactment, because there were several, was that they never said the word stabbed. They never said the word bleeding out, ever. And I think the jurors' face, I was watching their face, I think there was one point we all stopped and we were just all looking at each other in the courtroom. So I think that played a huge role into why there was some back and forth with the jury. Well, now we know there was clearly a lot of back and forth with the jury.
True, and when Nima Momeni was on the stand testifying in self-defense, he told jurors he never realized that Bob Lee was even injured as Bob Lee was walking away from the crime scene. Considering Bob Lee left behind a very heavy blood trail, it just was hard to believe that Momeni didn't know that Bob Lee was injured, and he said that was the reason why he never called 911. The only person who ever called 911 was Bob Lee himself.
In that video, we see Lee walking away. It's a clear video of that, and he looks kind of like shocked and stoic, and there's been some speculation why he wasn't bent over or why he wasn't, appearing more in distress, right?
I think he was suffering from heavy blood loss, and you can tell the dispatcher's trying to get information out of Bob Lee, and he's not able to give coherent answers. So I think at that point, when we're seeing that clear surveillance video of Bob searching for help, trying to flag down cars passing by, I think Bob Lee wasn't able to coherently give answers to the dispatcher, and that's why we never heard him name his killer.
And probably in shock.
Absolutely.
The body goes into shock after something traumatic like that. So again, there's so much that we could get into this case. And so we're going to have more updates. Again, this case is what we're learning. There's so much more that we have to go through. So we will keep you all updated as that information comes back to you in studio.